Absolutely delighted to have Mr. Shroff here. Mr. Shroff is an LLB and LLM, of course, from Bombay University. I now request Mr. Shroff to take over.
Thank you, Sucheta, for the kind words. Thank you, Devashish, and thank you, Money and Life Foundation Trust, which has organized today's evening. It gives me indeed a great pleasure to share the dais with Sucheta and Devashish, who are erudite, scholarly, and research-oriented, and we all know about their achievements. I am personally proud of being their friend, and I feel very privileged to be this evening in front of you. Supreme Court came to the conclusion in the case of Nahal Chand Lallu Chand in 2010 August, and a two-judges bench has now given a judgment, which judgment is the law, and which judgment has completely changed the very paradigm of car parking space. All those who were happy with this judgment initially are the most unhappy people today. Why they were happy, that also I will tell you, and why they are unhappy, that also I will share with you. Supreme Court came to the conclusion that Ownership Flat Act defines flat. Flat includes a enclosed garage which is properly authorized and allowed to be constructed by local authority. Flat includes any industrial premises also, offices also, commercial area. But the flat definition does not include car parking. Premises, in other words, flat, as defined under the Ownership Flat Act. What is not defined and what a builder cannot sell, then that in eye of the law, any transaction for the sale is illegal because you are not entitled to sell. Some questions were put to the Supreme Court while it was passing the order, that what happens if there is a basement, what happens if there is a still, what happens if there is a podium. Supreme Court says, very good, give me the questions. It took all questions and answered in negative, no, none of them are parking, therefore it cannot be sold. Now the consumers who were harassed by all this sale of every possible nook and corner, and some people used to say in lighter vein, that every window, every opening, every chhaja is being sold by the builder. So now there is coming to a close this particular tyranny, and we are able to now succeed because there is no sale. So there was I would say momentarily, everybody had happiness that now builders, all this greed will come to an end, and now nothing could be sold. And the Supreme Court said in the same breath that these are areas which you are referring to are the areas which form part of amenities of a building, like a community amenity, open spaces, a entrance lobby, terrace. The same way, these parkings are also amenities. So society will get it and society will give it to its members. Just to share with you, because there may be some very honorable managing committee members sitting here. The question which arises is, there is a model bylaws applicable under Maharashtra Cooperative Societies Act, which says that what is a property of a society, you cannot sell. You can give it on an annual lease or a license to a member. So now there is one more job for the society. Every year there will have to be some sort of a auction or a bidding or some sort of allotment. Then there will be a fight that last year I was in front, this year you sent me back, then there is a lucky draw, and then there is a malpractice. But that's entirely another episode which will take to Robinson Crusoe on another adventure, which we will not go into this evening. So this is where the Supreme Court stopped. Now within 2 months of this judgment, I had a largest number of queries which were mostly, I would say, gratis, which used to come from all builders. Ye Nahal Chand ka kya ho raha hai? Like Kolaveri D, they are asking me, ye Nahal Chand kya hai? I said, Nahal Chand mane stop to car parking altogether. They said, license देगा तो चलेगा, lease देंगे तो चलेगा, gift देंगे तो चलेगा, उसको temporary use बोलेंगे तो चलेगा, पैसा नहीं लेगा तो चलेगा, मतलब कुछ भी नहीं चलेगा. You can't sell, he can't take. You will have to hand over ultimately to society. Society will allot to people. Now the question arose, no flat today which people sitting in the room will buy will be less than 50 lakhs, 40 lakhs, 60 lakhs. and it can run to crore and 2 crore of rupee average. Now, we have taken a substantial part of the evening talking about MOFA, which is already there, and you heard so many eminent speakers before. Then what are we talking about now? On 9th of November, very briefly and very quickly we'll go through with the central government law, because that law will be at a distance from us by reason of the Maharashtra government having stepped in and introduced and the cabinet having sanctioned that particular law, and it's going to really come by and it will take the legislative process and it will replace the Maharashtra Ownership Flat Act with the new law. In fact, just to share with you, because you all are very knowledgeable, to complete your, I would say, factual matrix, the MOFA itself is a period law. It is not so that it's a permanent law. Like the Bombay Rent Act is also period law. It gets periodically extended. So the Maharashtra government decided that there were many gaps into this law and we want to do something really good, which I'll come to because I don't want to give out to you what exactly the Maharashtra new law intends to achieve. But let's first take the central law and rather complete with its bird eye view of that particular legislation. The government of Maharashtra, the government of India has been thinking about a real estate law which will be applicable through the length and the breadth of this country. And there has been this move for last couple of years where the central government decided to introduce this law. First it started with the Delhi administration became very, I would say, alive to this fact that there was no such law which was prevailing for the colonizers. The Gurgaon development, the Noida development, the Trans-Jamuna development, the UP development was completely uncontrolled. People lost monies, people lost their lifetime savings into all that. As a result of which government became alive and it wanted to introduce that bill. That bill came years back, but then it died, I believe, premature death, and it never saw the light of the day. Now the government suddenly on 9th of November put it up, Government of India, on its website, the draft Real Estate Regulation and Development Bill 2011, which is in front of you. Now this particular bill was introduced for the purpose of, throughout the Union of India, it to apply, and it wanted to introduce, and really it brought some very revolutionary ideas have been introduced into this law. This law, while considering, some of you must be aware that so far as the real estate or the land laws are concerned, there are three lists by which under the constitutional scheme of legislative powers that we are governed. There is one list which is called union list, where only parliament can make law. There is a state list where only state governments or state legislatures can make law. And there is a mixed list, which is a third list, where concurrent list in which anybody could really make a law. And then who holds the field and who is prior and who is subsequent, and parliament can have a superior power. That is the third area. But they are very concerned about the land part of it. So about the land laws, you cannot have the union making it, and it's a state power. But then there are various implications which could be drawn out of that allocation of subject, and the union also can make a law in certain areas, which I don't want to bother you this evening. So under Article 246 of the Constitution of India, this is the constitutional scheme of legislative powers between the central government and the state government. So central decided that we are going to make the law, and which will be uniform and bringing this industry, which is one of the, I would say, the topmost industry which is today there in our economy, under a control, under a statutory monitoring, and some sort of an order to be brought to this particular industry, which was uncontrolled, unfettered in many states, except where our Western India, Maharashtra was leader, and it had a proper statute in its place. So this law was intended to be brought about. On 9th of November, it came on the website. It said within 30 days, give your objections and let's get going. Otherwise, after studying those objections which are received, the union government will decide and the union legislature will take up the matter, and naturally it will go to its natural consequence of becoming law and on its way till the President of India signs the bill after it being passed by the union legislature. So this particular law, when we are talking about, this law intends to, its object clause talks about to establish the real estate regulatory authority. So before you look into this, I would say cumbersome slide,
This slide is for the purpose of showing that I have worked, but you need not really strain your eyes. You can listen to it, because as in our scriptures it is, sometime you see the knowledge comes by sound, sometime it comes by light. So light you can slightly ignore, but kindly listen to the sound. So audio part is more important. This law went slightly overboard. It says that there will be real estate regulatory authority. Real estate regulatory authority is empowered with doing administrative work, with doing management work, with doing town planning work, with doing regulatory work, with doing judicial work, with doing appellate work, with doing work of advising government what to do in real estate, with listening to disputes, with passing orders, with directing authorities. It's such an ambitious authority that probably it will not be able to in one lifetime be able to succeed on all these counts, because it's not physically possible for one authority to really function. And when you go to the chapter which provides for how RERA is going to be composed, how many people will be there, what kind of secretariat will be there, what kind of composition it will have, then we suddenly think that this is imagining too much. I mean, you don't have such powerful people who can do all this. And at the same time, I believe Lokpal is still hanging on the shoulder and looking at them. How will this authority effectively will be able to meet the aspirations of people and achieve? You want to prevent the present malpractices and the dysfunctional industry, the way it works, and you want to impose an authority with so many powers that it probably will not be able to really satisfy our requirement as our aspirations about the whole thing. So they have a real estate regulatory authority. Then there is one very dramatic provision which this act has got, which I will take you through my slides, because I am also not going to spare you. You will have to strain your eyes. It came up with, and it has come up with a proposition, two things. It talks about that nobody can start a new project construction in India unless his project has got all the sanctions. Now this is a dream come true. All sanctions, you require between 67 to 85 sanctions, state, union and municipal and regulatory. You require permissions which come from environment and forest, and you require environment impact assessment, and you require several of those permissions. But this act very naively thinks you should have all permissions in place, you must give all information, you must get yourself registered, your project registered. After you register that, you must get a website clearance, a password. After that, your project has to be completely on the net. After that you can really go to the market and take the money. But then it says further, it says that when you receive money, the 70% of it you must put it in a bank account, straight away. So on what basis 70%, one really doesn't know. Those who are familiar know that in UAE, particularly in Dubai, there is a provision that those who are developers, they have under the royal decree, they have to really get a permission for the purpose of withdrawing money, or they have to give a guarantee for getting the money which they have taken from the purchasers. Now there is a great convenience in Dubai. All these provisions are there, but the moment your project starts, you have to go to the family and you have to apply for permission. So the day your project starts, you get permission, this law does not apply, you can withdraw. So then there is no other problem thereafter. But here we have got PIL and we have got RTI and we have got so many problems. So this becomes a real provision. So we are copying Dubai thinking it is there, but it's actually not there. Otherwise, what is happening right now to all the Dubai developers and those who have purchased, if there was actually this 70% deposited or the amount deposited in the bank to be utilized for development, then those projects would not have been languishing. And today, I mean, there are more projects which are deserted than projects which are at work at the moment in Dubai and the surrounding areas. But this law says no, keep your money 70% and you must utilize it for the project. These two provisions, plus it talks about the kind of punishments and the penalties, which is, say that 10% of the project cost will be charged to you as a penalty for breach of the law. Now project cost is what? If there is going to be somebody is doing a township, 10% of that you will charge him for the purpose of some violation which are of a technical or a minor nature. How will that really go about? So these were the various areas in this particular legislation which were staring, and lot of objection throughout the country took place, and those objections were registered with the union government, and on the website they have been put up, and I believe that is being discussed at the moment, although the period has expired of lodging those objections. Now if we really go through very quickly, to establish the real estate regulatory authority was the avowed object. Then it talked about who is the allottee. The allottee definition would include not only the first time purchaser, but if you have bought a flat from a builder and you sell it to somebody, that second sale also becomes an allottee, and therefore this particular law will come into action. Then we come to who is a promoter. That's a fairly similar definition as what MOFA is. Then it talks about any development authority or any other public body in respect of the allottee or person who acts himself. Those authorities are also taken into the sweep of this law. For example, that if MHADA is there, then MHADA is also a promoter. Those authorities will also be covered by this law. That is what it intends, and that is where this law stands today. Then it talks about no promoter shall develop. That is the provision which I shared with you, that you cannot develop, you can't go to market, you can't raise the money, you can't publicize, you can't give any public notice unless you are registered on a website, unless you have password, and unless all your facts and information are put up on the government, the RERA website. Now, of course, when we were debating that law, where I had almost a large number of meetings throughout the country, the questions were asked as follows. Terrorists do not know how the building is made, how the project is in which stage, and how the planning is. This law provides that all your information, all your sanctions, you have to put up on website. Once I put up that, what is the security aspect of this matter? That is what the promoter started asking. That is what the purchaser started asking. Do you want to know from which particular void or from which particular pipe that person can come in your building, in a multi-story building, which is supposed to be the access from which that the project could be really approached? Which is a basement which is so crucial, which is having a cantilever structure, if which is destroyed, then the rest of the building will collapse. What happens to all this, and what is the security? Answer was not coming forward from anywhere. Second issue came about the intellectual property right. Today people spend a large amount of money on planning, getting advice, foreign consultants, they design the buildings. Now there is a lot of intellectual property involved into it. Now if my next door competitor knows that what I am constructing, how many flats I have, and it also requires you to put up periodically the list of how many sold, how many unsold. That also you have to put up on this side. Now you as a buyer, if you know that this poor builder is not able to sell anything, then you are going to say that I have seen your website, you have not sold anything. Now you want to sell to me, I will ask you at a discount. The next door chap will say, बाजू में जाओ, उसका कुछ बिकता नहीं है. मेरे पास देखो मेरा कितना बिक गया इस महीने में. Now, this is going to create a new kind of stresses into the business, and it will have confidential information in the public domain. All these issues were being discussed when this act came in, and that is where this particular registration and a website registration of a project was criticized and critically considered, and I believe that the government needs to really look into it and control those provisions. Then it comes to declaration signed by the promoter. Now the promoter has to declare and give confidential information which will be in public domain, which will fall in the same category as I talked to you earlier. Now, apart from that, there are details to be entered which I told you they were the same confidential details which requires to be done under the central law. Then we come to the Real Estate Appellate Tribunal. Now this is one another creature which has been introduced under this law. All disputes across the board will go to the Real Estate Appellate Tribunal, and Real Estate Appellate Tribunal will consider it. To the extent dispute between authority and authority will also go there. Between a purchaser of premises and authority will also go there. Between a builder and the purchaser will also go there. Now, pausing here for a moment, this will be common to MOFA, this and the Maharashtra law, which ultimately may become our future because we are the part of the state and the state is I would say, determined to bring that law in place of MOFA, which is a well-established legislation, which has lived through more than 50 years with us. The situation is, today, for a moment, if a purchaser is dissatisfied, what options he has got? If there is a breach of ownership flat act, he can have civil action, he can have criminal action, he can go under Consumer Protection Act 1986 and file consumer action. He can go under Competition Act and file action there also for the restrictive practice. He can also have criminal law in motion under the Indian Penal Code. He can also have tortious action which he can start. So he has got variety of rights. At the end of the day, he doesn't know where to go. And ultimately, there are some group of disgruntled purchasers who will have to be really controlled, otherwise they will keep on filing cases with a view to harass the real estate industry. We cannot rule out on both sides of the fence that there exists such elements which requires to be controlled and regulated. Now, the Real Estate Regulation and Development Act has now decided that all disputes will go there, but this law cannot really prevent people from going to Consumer Protection Act or going through the Competition Act. But at the same time, there is an ambitious provision that all this dispute will be before this authority. Then there is another provision which was about willful contravention, and as I told you about, the imprisonment for 3 years, penalty of 10% of the estimated cost of project. All this part has been provided for with a view to create a stringency, which will create a more kind of stress and more kind of, I would say, a condition by which there will be no violation of the provisions of law. Now, this completes our journey through the central legislation, which was in offing till December. We thought that this is the one which will have to it will be coming. And at that point of time, the government of Maharashtra said, no, nothing doing. And let's go to the next one. The government of Maharashtra said that this is encroaching upon our legislative turf and we are not going to take it. So they decided that we are now going to come up with our own law. And now this is going to be the interesting part of the evening, and I may encroach upon your question hour, like in the 0 hour in the parliament, because this you need to really take it home with you. And this is what concerns you, and probably this act is going to become a reality, and very soon it is likely to come in the place of MOFA, and that's where you need to really now concentrate on this law, and probably most of your questions will also be around this law, or no?